Welcome to the Strategy with Jason podcast. Tune in for everything you need to know to stay in the know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Strategy with Jason, where I get to talk about anything and everything I want to talk about when it comes to strategy. I am here with my co-host, Mr. Jeff Tessier, and the one, the only, the Austin. That's right. It's like Beyonce.
Hello.
We just call it Austin. Guys, I have fun doing this with y'all. I said it again. Oh, no.
Tennessee's coming out.
For everybody that's out there watching and listening, if you may not know this, but I have moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and for the last handful of podcasts, a little bit of a Southern draw has been coming out. I'm not using the word "a" as much as maybe I have in the past, and I'm a little concerned and worried about this. I don't know. I am wearing Tennessee orange, so I will say, guys, I will have to admit, since moving here, no one, and I mean no one, has ever questioned my obsession with the color orange. Like, not once. Like, my car's orange, and no one even asks me why it's orange. You know what I mean? Like, I can't tell you when I was living in Toronto how often I'd be asked. So, man, do you own like 16 of those polos? I was like, I do. Why? And it's like no one has ever. I mean, but it's also kind of funny though, because people will randomly walk up to me and ask me about a player and the score of a game, and I'm like, oh yeah, go Vols. I have no idea what I'm talking about, but anyways, I digress. It happened the other day. I took my daughter to the doctor's office, right? And we sit down, the doctor comes in and immediately starts talking to me about last night's game. Like, I was like so totally into it. And I'm like, yeah. Oh, he's going to do really well this season. I can tell. My daughter afterwards like, do you know who that player was? I'm like,
I have no idea.
None whatsoever.
Is college football bigger than like the Titans would be there?
Not only is it bigger, it's physically bigger. Okay, so the stadium in Knoxville, all right, where the Volunteers play, holds I think over 100,000 people, and the Titan Stadium here in Nashville, I think only holds like 80.
Yeah, probably.
So it's actually it's not just bigger; it's physically bigger. And
it's like a religion down there too. It
is. And I think almost every single Volunteers game is sold out, and I know Titan games are not. So it's definitely a thing. Even though the Titans, actually, I looked them up, they're not bad. Now speaking, we do have some fun sports here. Hockey is actually one. We have the Predators. So I went to the Maple Leafs game. Because living in Toronto, you got to have a second mortgage to afford a Maple Leafs ticket. Yeah. But here it was 2 tickets, 2 hot dogs, and parking for $139.
Seat in the Scotiabank Arena now, I think it's called, in Toronto.
Yeah,
is what, $300 and some, and you can't even see.
And you're behind a pillar at the very top, and you're actually watching on your phone because you can't see what's going on in the ice. Anyways, we started this podcast like a few minutes ago. We actually haven't said anything yet. So hey, everyone, thanks for taking the time to join us on today with Strategy with Jason. We're gonna talk anything and everything we want to talk about when it comes to strategy. Austin, you got some topics for us? What do you want to jam about, man?
Yeah, let's jam about customer experience today. So this is just like an interesting concept idea of a restaurant in Norway. Just like a floating orb on the sea. So it's like it's a fine dining experience, and you board the ship, and you float around this lake as they serve your dinner, and it's sorry, no, that's not loading, but yeah, it's a very fine dining multi-course meal. They feed you sort of like natural ingredients that are grown in the area, and it's very like it's all about the experience essentially, you know. So it's a really
I know Norwegian
whole
food
concept
is
is
very, very
experience.
hot right now. Norwegian food's really hot. Like the style, the Nordic experience, the way they cook food, is also quite unique. If you look at like, I actually watched a couple shows on Nordic food. Maybe a lot of people don't know about this about me, but I'm actually a foodie. I cook a lot. And I love dining experience. In fact, I've learned a lot, from this. Okay, let me see this. Go ahead, play this. Let's see this. So this is this floating. That's so cool. It looks like they're coming out cooking beforehand, and you get on. Now, what happens if this thing sinks? I don't.
You're doomed.
Ideally, it won't.
Wow, how cool!
This looks like I'd be hungry after eating it.
Yeah, those didn't look like they're very large portions at all, right?
But that's that fine dining, right? But
Well, you know what? It's yes. Well, also Nordic, I think food is also kind of similar to this. It's very rustic. Not a lot of it's a lot of stuff's cooked over flames. They eat a lot of reindeer meat. I've never actually had reindeer. It's actually on my bucket list. Can't seem to find it here in Tennessee. Anybody out there watching and listening, and knows where I can buy some reindeer here in the Nashville area, let me know. But it's funny that you bring this up because me and Jeff have actually done this with clients in the past. There was a restaurant that me and Jeff regularly visited in Milton called Pascalino's. All right. And, you go there and Austin, you've been to Pascalino's. How many times have you been to
Yep.
Pascalino's?
It's a
Come on,
great
dude. Like,
place. Best creme brulee I've ever had in my life.
right. So look, and I take clients to Pascalino's because there's more of an experience in a $30 lunch than I find most dealers will do in a $30,000 car purchase. And think about just what that experience is. It's the family, it's the communication, it's the engagement, it's the see-through kitchen. You can see what the uncle's cooking in the back, and they'll tell you exactly where they source the tomatoes and which family region the wine came from. And it's just they
Fresh flowers everywhere.
look, they bring you into their home, right? It's pretty much their home. In fact, it's a family-owned business, so they live there. They practically live there, right? And almost every single family member works there. Every from the nephews to the sons to the uncles, the aunts, the grandparents, like they all work there. But there's an experience, and experiences can be very designed, and let's call them custom, kind of like what you were presenting here, this very unique, very custom experience. But then there is the experiences that we can duplicate in our own, that we can duplicate in our own dealerships. And that's the sense of, does this really feel like home? Does this, is this the Walt Disney experience, where if I got a question, everyone is going to guide me and put me in the direction where I need to go, no matter who I'm talking to. It's just like, look, there's an experience is one that can be visual, can be audio, can be, all the way down to the touch, and it's just like, how do we create an experience for the customer? You have to map out each individual experience. For me, I think the experience for most customers out there start with their marketing. Jeff, we were talking about this on one of the earlier podcasts, right? Like, marketing, I feel connected to the marketing when I feel known, right? Like when it's specifically designed for me, or I feel like they're connecting with me as an audience, maybe not as a person, but maybe as an audience, that says a lot. So it's like, when you're thinking of an experience, you break it down into micro elements. It's no different than what you just showed us in that video. So you have the experience of boarding that restaurant. Okay. walking down the dock and getting into it. And then that looked like there was a room that kind of played, some type of visual element that looked very immersive. So like each, think of the progression. I'm walking through, I get through the entryway, I walk up the stairs, I get into a restaurant. I mean, it's just like each one of these are micro experiences. Here's the thing with experiences. It's never one big thing that creates an experience. It is a series of little things that create the experience. Look, Jeff, Austin, you guys have all experienced it yourself. All right. Give me an example of an experience from both of y'all. Dang it, I said it again. Anyways, give me an experience from you guys that you felt like all the little things added up to this bigger experience. Jeff, you go first.
I think we talked about this one before, but when we were up in the JW Marriott last summer, fall, whatever,
That was fun.
right? We went to that steak. I don't know, was it the Chop or whatever it's called? I don't remember what it's called, but amazing from the moment we were sat down till when we finally left, like 5 hours later. It felt like, I have no
100%.
idea, but it was great. So we had an amazing waiter who really connected with us and wanted to give us an experience. Saw that Jason and I were both into the wine, and so he brought suggestions to us that could meet what we would expect, right? And he not only did that, but he brought it and further explaining how to test it and how we thought and how that was going to commensurate with our meal, what we had chosen for our steak dinner and whatnot, right? And then the dessert at the end, like everything there was just phenomenal. I've never been so full on food, wine, and an experience, and all of it together was just great.
It was something. But I think what was unique is it, we didn't open a menu. Do you remember
No,
that?
we never. I didn't look at it. I think I opened it, but I couldn't
I
read
think we
it. I was
opened
too
it, and
enthralled.
then he approached us and started talking about some of the stuff. Then we started talking about some of the specials, and I said, "Well, we're really not sure." And he's like, "If you want, I will take your hand and I will do this whole thing for you guys. You don't need to open the menu at all. I just
Great.
need to know a few things from you." Right. So he asked us a few questions, maybe about like, do we like sweet stuff or salty stuff or whatever it was. I can't remember what some of the questions were. Right. Do we like smoky stuff? Do we like, fruit forward stuff? Like it was just a mix of all kinds of, I think he had maybe 3, maybe possibly 5 questions. And then it was pretty much, we handed the menu back to him. And then he crafted this experience from the point of appetizer all the way to the point of dessert and all the wines and everything in between there. But he did, and I do remember, it's just, him asking pricing, like I can create this custom experience, where do you want to go? And I was just, we were celebrating a pretty big business move for us. We're just like, woohoo!
Yeah, we may have gone a little over the top on that, but
We 100% went over the top.
it was definitely. But I think if we had gone with like a reasonable option,
He was
it would have
clear
still been the
to give us
same experience.
100%.
Maybe the wine might not have been as delectable, but like it was definitely, regardless which way we were going, that experience was going to be top notch level.
It was, and he was willing to kind of design that experience to whatever we decided to want it, and I think that was very unique, right? And it hit on so many different things. It was all the little things because what he did is he asked us questions and he learned about certain things that we liked and that we didn't like. So then every single thing that came to us was catered to the information. So again, when I talked about before, the strongest marketing campaign you can ever run is the one that you feel known. Right. And so therefore, by him asking those handful of questions, he knew our likes, our dislikes, and crafted something specifically just for us. And, it probably wasn't difficult. Probably took him a whole whopping minute in his head, or not even 30 seconds to go, okay, I'm going to do this, and this. Right. And it wasn't a huge menu in the first place. It wasn't like there was a ton of options, but like it was an experience. Austin, what about yourself, man? Where an example of where the little things, all right, created just this big experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can also, you get that experience from sort of the passion of maybe the staff or the owner.
Mhm.
And so my example was there's this Korean restaurant that I go to in Toronto here. And I recently took my girlfriend there, and it actually wasn't a particularly great experience at the beginning because they were having some sort of staffing issue, and it was like a long wait to get in. And normally it didn't need to be. It was just the fact they couldn't clear off tables quick enough to get new people in. So we had to wait a little bit, which was fine. I didn't mind. But as we're eating our meal, and like every time we've been there, it's been an amazing meal. They take very good care of you. And the owner actually walks around and like talks to each table, asks you how you're doing, how did it go, and like sort of make sure that you're enjoying the meal. And I feel like that sort of experience from the passion of the owner that actually cares about you and your experience gives you a good feeling, like it makes you feel like you're taken care of, makes you feel like you're sort of like part of their family. And
Mhm.
as we were walking out, he gave us like a very like sincere apology for how long it took because of the staffing issue and whatnot. And he was like, you could tell he really cared, and he was like, please give us another chance next time. And sort of like the passion was really coming through, and sort of that adds to the experience, like even it necessarily wasn't a particularly great experience from start to finish.
Sure.
That feeling of them caring added to my experience.
Well, and it wasn't a singular thing he did, but it was the multiple things that he did that got to the point where you felt like he cared.
Yep.
It was just, the fact that he did come around, introduce himself, have a one-on-one conversation, and still even went farther at the end, still even apologized in a sincere way. Like there's just those create experiences, right? And I always kind of tell people there's never one little thing that makes an ultimate experience. I remember a hotel experience, New Year's. Me and the wife were going downtown. We stayed at the Trump Hotel. Don't hate me for that. I pull in, and I remember, online having to book the room, and then there were you had to book valet. Like you had to tell them in advance if you were going to be using their valet service or not. I said yes. It asked me for my make, model, and my license plate number. Oh, okay. So it's just probably whatever. We pull in. Gentleman opens the door. Welcome to the tower, Mr. Harris. Huh? Another person opens my wife's door. Welcome to the tower, Mrs. Harris. Okay. We get to the door. They open it up. Well, welcome, Mr. Harris and Mrs. Harris. Okay. I'm at this point, guys, I'm like looking for a name tag. And I'm like, is there something on me? We get to the desk. Hello, welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Harris. We have your room ready and everything is like, I'm like, I couldn't figure out how the hell. And then I remembered what I registered for valet. So they had a process in place that they could input my plate number and know exactly who the guest was.
Makes
Like,
sense.
right? And then I saw that they did all have little radios. So as I pulled in and waited, they radioed in saying the next vehicle coming in is Mr. and Mrs. Harris. So literally the person that opened the door for us all the way to the people that checked us in all called us by that name. And I was like, damn. Right? Talking about, again, we were talking about being known. That's another one. So they hit that mark, right? But the other thing too, look, it was a little thing, just my name, just a person's name, right? Used multiple times in the first 5 minutes of me being there. Holy crap! That generated that set the stage for an experience, and then of course the room was amazing, food was amazing, everything was amazing. So it was great. It was great, right? But I mean, just talk about just intentionally crafting out an experience, but just with some simple processes, right? I don't know, I'm sure they had to create some type of technology solution so that someone could input the plate's number and pulls up who it is and so on and so forth, right? But and then of course they had to get radios to radio each other and tell them who was coming in the door and stuff. But I mean, geez, talk about setting the stage, right? Anyways, I digress. Customer experience. I know that's what we originally talked about, but here's the thing. And I'm going to wrap this up and then we can move to our next one. All right. Customer experiences are generated not off big things. They're generated off of little things, and they're little intentional things. Intentional. So you need to be intentional when creating an experience. Now, when you think of the overarching buying experience, the overarching service experience inside your dealership, you need to break that down into micro elements, micro experiences that generate the entire experience. And for us, typically in a dealership, the first experience is actually the marketing. All right. The second experience is typically online. The third experience is inside the dealership. And the fourth experience is what happens after I leave your business. I still think for a lot of dealerships out there, they might hit the mark on the first three, but it's the fourth one that they actually are missing. And that's like, what is the experience after I leave your dealership? And I think there's amazing ways. I actually know of one general sales manager that does this amazing thing. At the end of the day, he takes the list of the 13 or 14 people. Now, I understand it's a smaller dealership, so I get it, but I'm sure there's some way you can scale this up to a larger dealership. But he takes the list of the 13 or 14 people that visited the dealership that day, and I think he uses Loom or actually, I think he maybe used Snapcell. I can't remember what I think it is Snapcell. All right. And he creates a little thank you video for each couple that came in and then text messages it to them. It takes 30 seconds per couple. He's done in less than 10 minutes. And that's how he finishes his end of his day. Huge.
Yep.
Right? Huge. Anyways, and the message is very simple. We thank you. We appreciate. We're looking forward for the opportunity to earn your business. And of course, if there's anything I can personally do to solidify it, I am here. I am available. You can text me back at this number. Good guys. I can't tell you that goes just a long ways to really kind of put that cherry on the top for an experience. Anyways,
and you know how every dealership claims they're family owned and operated, and they want to sort of promote the fact that they're a family. I feel like that's the sort of the experience that they're trying to hit on, is this feeling of someone who cares and you're part of the family and you're being taken care of by the owners or the staff or whatnot. And I think you can't just say that on a marketing campaign. You actually have to have the experience.
100%. Actually, family owned and operated is one of the funniest lines out there, I think. Because I don't know about your family, but yeah, it's probably not the experience you may want. I'm thinking, don't get me wrong, I love my family. But all right, I'm going to go Thanksgiving next week. I'm going to go see them. All right. And, I'm already prepared, to hear certain things my sisters are going to say to me, and, certain moods that my father might be in, and I'm like, I don't know if that's necessarily the experience. So like, I'm just saying, look, not every, stop using the word family owned and operated. And that's the reason why they should do this, because it may not be the family experience that they're ultimately looking for. Right. But excuse me. But yes, look, no one cares. No one cares that you're family owned and operated. Really, what they care about is operationally what do you do differently because you're family owned and operated. Does that make sense? No, because you're family owned and operated is not the reason why I want to come and do it. It's the way you do business. All right, from a family owned and operated perspective that I am interested in, because that can actually provide me value, and when you think of, you want to make it easy for your family, you want to make it convenient for your family. All right. You want to make it cost effective, for your family. So that type of stuff makes sense. It's just not enough that we say it. You know what I mean? Jeff, anything you want to add to that?
No, I agree. I think you got to live it too, right? And I think if you take the opportunity to map out what it is that customers are already experiencing in your store. So if you're advertising that you're family owned and operated, are you showing that from the customer walking into the door, or is it just a mirage, right? So if you can sit down and map out, how can I enhance the experience from the customer walking in? Are they going to be greeted immediately? What process should I put in place to make sure that happens? Are they going to feel welcomed? Can I get you a cup of coffee? It's easy enough, like you said, Mr. Harris and Mrs. Harris at the Trump Hotel. How hard is it at a dealership to know that if you've got an appointment, whether that be for service or for sales, it's 3:00? Likely that's Joe or whoever, Mrs. Smith, right? So
Sure.
it's easy enough to narrow down and find ways to map. I worked at a BMW dealership. I guess almost 20 years ago now, but that's what we did there, and we mapped it out. So to make kind of like the Disney thing where things just happen, right? We weren't allowed to just, somebody walked in and we weren't allowed to ignore them. Even if we were busy, we had to look up and acknowledge them. If they needed to know where the washroom was, it wasn't just, oh, it's just down over there. We would walk them to the corridor where the washroom was. Obviously, I'm not going to bring them in, but something small like that. And when service cars were ready, they had to be in the drive-through. We would cash the customer out, explain the invoice, walk them to their car, doors up, open the driver's door, white glove service, the whole thing, and thank them for their business. And you have like a 5-minute conversation with the guy and got to know him. And so that was just amazing to me. So if you can map out different ways that you can enhance that customer experience, what you want it to look like. So if you're saying you're family owned and operated, what are you doing to make sure your staff are on board with that? Because not all of them are going to be your family, obviously, right? So does everybody know the vision? Do they have it mapped out how they contribute? And I think that goes a long ways for them. If you can find all those maybe 5 or 6 different little points and how you can enhance it and keep working at it, you can really change that experience at your dealership.
I totally agree with you. By the way, I know my mom's watching right now because she just text messaged me about what I just. Hi, Mom.
Whoops. You didn't say anything bad about your mom, so that's
I didn't say anything about her.
Just your dad and your sisters. It wasn't that bad either.
It wasn't that bad at all, right? Here's the bottom line, guys. I know we're getting towards the tail end of our conversation. All right, but when we're talking about the customer experience, and by the way, Austin, great topic. I should write a book on it. I'm just kidding. Maybe. We've been talking about that. Anyways, I digress. Experiences happen because you're intentional about it. They don't happen just because they happen, right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like an experience requires intentional effort and intentional processes to make them unique. And if it's a unique restaurant, floating restaurant on the lake, if it is a customized menu designed for us, from if it's the owner coming out, shaking her hand and just saying hello, right? Like these things have to be intentional. They're not designed. The other example of the hotel knowing my name before I even open the door. Like these things don't happen by accident, right? Experiences happen because we are intentional with our efforts and our processes to create that experience. Now, the benefit of experience, I don't know if we really need to go into that too much further, but that an experience is something you want others to experience for themselves. So you share that information in a wildfire way, all right? Anybody that's ever going to buy a car that you happen to be within a 30 feet radius of, you're going to run over there and say, you got to go to this place. The experience is amazing. You didn't say the price is amazing. All right. You said the experience is amazing. Anyways, hey, for everyone out there watching and listening, thank you so much for hanging out with us and checking out this episode of Strategy with Jason. If you like this content and you'd like to see more content similar to this, please check out strategywithjason.com. You can also find us anywhere on social at Strategy with Jason. And of course, any one of your favorite podcast channels, just search for Strategy with Jason. Thank you so much. And you guys have yourself an amazing day. Jeff, Austin, say bye.
Have a good one.
Thanks for tuning in to the Strategy with Jason podcast with your host, Jason Harris. Don't want to miss new content? Be sure to check out the full podcast library at strategywithjason.com to stay in the know. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Happy podcasting.